Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Mayor of the Kapiti Coast District Council, Mayor Gurunathan. Guru, good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, John. Good morning to the listeners.
Mayor, I wonder if there's any clarity yet on appointments and the very interesting notion you mentioned to us, I think, a couple of weeks ago about portfolios. Any appointments been made yet?
We formally announced the Deputy Mayor, Janet Holbrook.
Excellent.
Which is a continuity of the last 3 years. Also that there's some interesting points that make this appointment useful as the last 3 years. One, she's from Pagakriki and I'm from Otaki. So we cover the two extremes of the district. She's female and I think I'm male. And I'm of a different ethnic origin from what she's, I suppose, mainstream.
The other thing is, I think she did a very good job in the last triennium.
That's the resulting conclusion.
Yes, indeed.
It's been very good. So, so there's an element of continuity where you have 6 new councillors on board.
Indeed. Now, Mayor, in the last triennium in the Hurawhenua, there was quite some controversy about the appointment of a deputy mayor, and I understand that went to the local government association, and there was a vote there about how a deputy mayor is appointed, whether it's the mayor or the council. What is the situation locally?
I think the local government allows the mayor to appoint, but if it's not acceptable, there's an escape clause that the majority of the councillors can reject that. But then upon rejection, there's no process to see who then appoints it, apart from coming back to the same point, that the mayor then appoints the next person, and he can appoint the same person again, and then it becomes a hamster
I see.
So
but no controversy with Janet Holbrook for Deputy Mayor of Kapiti.
Generally accepted. I mean, I didn't have anyone saying bad choice or don't want. It's been good.
Excellent. Now, the portfolios you mentioned, the committees.
The portfolio system is actually, we are looking at a series of portfolios. Like business and jobs is one, transport, housing, rural, waste management, and we've got one portfolio for Greater Wellington Regional Council. Cultural, the 4 well-beings, we have decided to be one of each of the different councillors. Cultural well-being, the social well-being, and the environmental and the economic well-being. Because those are government changes to the local government that's going to take root next year. We've got health, the seniors, youth and climate, and of course, naturally, the climate change portfolio and youth portfolio will go to Sophie Hanford.
Okay.
And the cultural well-being one is the Deputy Mayor will hold that one. Councillor Coates will hold the transport portfolio. If you're looking at Councillor Buswell, she's got the business and jobs portfolio. Councillor Elliott, of course, is long-standing on waste. And going back to Councillor Buswell's one, I think the business and jobs one is one of what I see as a critical part in terms of helping council interface with the business community. And particularly when people are coming to ask for new resource consents for setting up businesses and stuff, that I think is a critical point where we've been fielding a lot of criticisms.
Absolutely.
In that area, and so she's got a very tough job. And she's a roll up your sleeves and get the job done type person. I think she'll do extremely well. And of course, we've got new councillor Rob McCann. He's got a big one on the housing, social well-being. Councillor Pravnov, we've got the environmental well-being. New councillor Martin Holiday, health and seniors. And Clint Compton, who did really well in his scoring for the district-wide polling.
Yes.
He's got rural, which has been neglected, the rural sector.
Yes.
People don't realize that we are a provincial district, not a suburban city of add-on to Wellington.
Absolutely.
And the other one is, of course, we always know that the Greater Wellington Regional Council has flown under the radar. And so we need some traction down there. So he'll be, Gwen will be looking after that particular portfolio.
Excellent.
And of course, the economic well-being, which is more the policy side.
Now, is that the first time that we've heard that list announced?
Yes, but it's a public document anyway.
Okay. I'll have to go and check that out. It just seems to me to be a very logical way of going about, because everyone now has an interest. And I imagine the idea is that they're going to do work in their specialist areas, their specialist responsibilities, and then report back to the wider council.
That's right. And they also have a reporting responsibility to the mayor's office. And the other thing, of course, is each of those portfolios, and there may be other portfolios that pop up as we go along, because we are just starting to develop this type of platform. One thing, it will give them a platform from which to fly in terms of working out their own networks into the respective communities. And the thing is, each of those portfolios actually intersperse with the other ones at some point.
Yes,
so
indeed.
The council is working very hard on one particular portfolio, will automatically lift the tide of the other portfolios also. And there will be collaboration across so that you get to work as a team.
Indeed.
So, I mean, for instance, if, let's say with Angela Buswell's jobs in business, she will be automatically involved, interface with the senior sector and the health sector, simply because if you look at the retirement industry, there's about a $400 million industry sitting there.
Indeed. It makes perfect sense, and it is, I imagine, the product of quite a lot of discussions. You must have had a busy few weeks since the election.
Oh, it never stops.
Never stops.
The moment, that's right. But we need to also further discuss this, because it's a new area for the older returning councillors, and for the new councillors also the whole range of things are new. So we need to spend some time workshopping this for Thursday's meeting anyway.
I've been negotiating with your diary, sir, and I've noticed that you're doing a fair bit of community engagement. What is the purpose of that at this stage of your mayoralty?
Well, two things. One is my job doesn't stop in terms, one of my responsibilities is actually being the face of the district, engaging with a whole range of volunteer organizations and social organizations is part and parcel of keeping the network and the council's connection with the community going. And the other thing is that time of the year where people are winding up, they have the end of year functions and stuff like this, that's starting to happen. And of course, it's start of a new triennium, a new council, and so people want to re-establish their existing relationship with the new council.
And how important is it to you to set the tone for the new triennium now? You've got these new councillors there. I think that you took umbrage when I suggested to you on this program about this possibly being a more progressive council than the last one. But a tone to be set early on is important in any political process, isn't it?
Yeah. So the key message that I gave during my inauguration speech is simply this. And it's a message that I've given at the beginning of the last triennium. That is, there is a public perception of what a public role is, a public office is, public expectation, huge responsibility and accountability that goes with that, and a code of conduct that goes with that. And the elected members, even though you're elected, you don't own the public office. The public office owns you.
Yep.
And therefore, your standard of behavior, your interactions with the public, the interactions with each other particularly, is critical. And when you talk to another councillor, that person is not just that particular personality occupying that seat. That person is a legitimate face of a huge public legitimacy through the voting. People who voted that person holds a public mandate. So even if you dislike that person, you have to respect the mandate that they bring.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean when I say the public office owns you, owns the elected member.
Well, that's pretty obvious. My father used to be in local government, and he used to say every day is election day. And there's some truth to that, I think, because there's that constant audit being performed by the public, and often in the exalted atmosphere of the council chamber, maybe you lose contact. You do so at your peril. Would you agree?
That's right. And I think Martin Holliday, who does a lot of PR work in this hospitality industry, he said one of the mantras for him is, always remember somebody is watching.
Yes, well, they are. And these days, of course, you're streaming council meetings, listening, and there's a lot of interest in what you do in this community. I'm sure you've noticed that.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, I know you've got another meeting at 9:30. That's 40 seconds away. I'd like to thank you for joining us this morning, and look forward to getting back to normal very shortly here on Beach FM. Thank you, Guru.
Thank you, John.
106.3 Beach FM.